Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. You are listening to Peachy English Podcast, made for English learners. I'm John, the host of this podcast. This episode is suitable for learners around B1 level. This podcast is suitable for improving listening, speaking, pronunciation, and fluency. It is perfect for people who want to sound more natural when they speak English. You can use it at home, on a walk, or during a commute. After this introduction, I will clearly tell you what the episode is about and how long it takes. Today, we are doing a travel story for shadowing practice. The story is about a road trip across Canada, from Toronto to Vancouver. The core episode is designed to be about 25 minutes of focused shadowing. Now let me explain shadowing and what you should do during this episode. Shadowing means you listen and speak at the same time. You hear my sentence and you repeat it immediately like an echo. You do not wait a long time. You try to follow the rhythm, the stress, and the intonation. At first, you might feel too slow. That is normal. If you miss a word, keep going. Do not stop for every mistake. Your goal is flow, not perfection. Here is a simple plan. First, listen for 1 minute without speaking and notice the pronunciation. Second, shadow for the next minutes and repeat with me. Third, when you hear the phrase shadow again, repeat the last sentence one more time. You can also pause the video after a sentence and repeat it alone. If you want extra practice, listen to this episode 2 times. Okay, take a deep breath, relax your face, and let's start our road trip story. It is early morning in Toronto. The city is still sleepy and quiet. The sky is pale blue, and the air feels cool. We have a full tank of gas and a full car. We pack clothes, water, snacks, and a small first aid kit. We also packed a phone charger and a paper map just in case. Our goal is simple. We want to drive from Toronto to Vancouver and enjoy the journey. We are not rushing. We want to see Canada slowly, day by day. Before we leave, we check the tires and the lights. We set our navigation, but we also talk about the route. We plan to go through Northern Ontario, then Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia. It sounds big because it is big. We smile and say, "Let's do this." Shadow again. We smile and say, "Let's do this." We start driving west. At first, there is city traffic. There are many cars, many exits, and many signs. But after a while, the traffic becomes lighter. The tall buildings become smaller in the mirror behind us. Soon, we see more trees and fewer towers. We feel the road trip energy begin. We put on comfortable music. We speak softly because it is still early. We drink water and take small sips of coffee. After 2 hours, we stop at a roadside place for breakfast. We order eggs, toast, and fruit. We also order more coffee because we feel sleepy. The waitress smiles and asks where we are going. We say, "Vancouver." She laughs and says, "That is a long drive." We laugh too, because she is right. Back in the car, the road becomes more open. We pass small towns and wide forests. We see signs for lakes, parks, and lookouts. Northern Ontario feels calm and wild. The trees are tall and green. The lakes shine like mirrors when the sun touches them. Sometimes we drive for a long time without seeing many cars. It feels peaceful, but also a little lonely. We talk about it. We say that the silence is part of the adventure. In the afternoon, we stop at a scenic lookout near a lake. We step out and stretch our legs. We breathe deeply and smell pine trees. The water is very still. A small bird lands near us and then flies away. We take a few photos. We also take a quiet moment and just look. Shadow again. We also take a quiet moment and just look. Later, we get back on the highway. We start to feel tired. Long driving is not only about distance, it is also about focus. So, we make a rule. Every 2 hours, we take a short break. We drink water and walk for 5 minutes. This helps us stay fresh and safe. In the evening, we reach a small town and check into a simple motel. The room is clean and quiet. We carry our bags inside and sit down with a big sigh. We eat a simple dinner, like soup and a sandwich. Then we plan the next day. We say we will drive toward Thunder Bay and then continue west. We fall asleep quickly. The next morning, we wake up early again. We open the curtains and see a cloudy sky. It looks like rain. We eat breakfast, pack the car, and start driving. After 1 hour, the rain begins. The windshield wipers move left and right, left and right. The road becomes darker, and we drive more carefully. Rain can be relaxing, but it can also make you sleepy. So we talk more and keep the air cool inside the car. By lunchtime, the rain stops. The clouds break, and sunlight returns. We feel happy, like the day is giving us a gift. We stop at a small place to eat. We order something warm, like pasta or rice, and we feel better. Then we continue driving. Ontario feels endless sometimes, but we do not complain. We remind ourselves that the journey is the point. In the late afternoon, we see a sign for a viewpoint. We decide to stop. We walk up a small path and look out at a huge lake. The water looks silver in the light. The wind is strong and it makes us laugh. We stand there and feel very alive, Joe. Shadow again. We stand there and feel very alive. That night we sleep in another motel. We are tired, but we feel proud. We have already traveled a long distance. On the third day, we finally leave Ontario. We cross the border into Manitoba. The landscape changes slowly. There are fewer hills and more open land. The sky looks wide and huge, like a big ceiling. We feel like we can breathe more deeply. We drive toward Winnipeg. In Winnipeg, we stop in the city for a few hours. We walk around, stretch our legs, and find a nice place to eat. We choose something local and simple. We talk to a friendly cashier who asks about our trip. When we say Toronto to Vancouver, their eyes get wide. They say, "Whoa, that's a real adventure." We smile and say, Yes, it is. After Winnipeg, we continue west into Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan feels very open. The land is flat and the road is straight. We can see far ahead, almost to the horizon. We pass fields, farms, and small towns. We see big clouds that look like soft mountains in the sky. At one point, we see a small storm in the distance. It looks like a gray curtain falling from the clouds. We drive toward it and then through it. Rain hits the car for 10 minutes and then it stops. After that, the sun returns again. On the prairie, the weather can change quickly. In Saskatchewan, we learn something important. You need snacks. You need water. And you need good music or good conversation. Otherwise, the road can feel very long. So we create a small game. We take turns describing what we see outside. I say, I see a yellow field. My friend says, I see a red barn. Then I say, I see a long fence. It is simple, but it keeps our minds active. Shadow again. It is simple, but it keeps our minds active. In the evening, we stop in Regina for the night. We eat dinner and talk about the next part. Tomorrow we will reach Alberta. Tomorrow we will see the first real mountains. The next day, we drive into Alberta. At first, the land still looks flat. But then, slowly, something changes. A faint line appears far away. It looks like a shadow on the horizon. That shadow is the Rocky Mountains. As we get closer, the mountains grow larger and clearer. We feel excited like children. We point and say, "Look, look!" We stop at a gas station and take photos with the mountains behind us. In Calgary, we take another break. Calgary feels modern and busy. We walk around a little and drink something cold. We also buy a small snack for the mountain drive, like nuts or fruit. Then we drive toward Banff and the national parks. The road becomes more dramatic. We see tall peaks, deep valleys, and thick forests. The air feels cooler. We open the window a little and breathe in fresh mountain air. We stop at a lookout where a river runs below. The water is bright and fast. We watch it for a while and feel calm. In the mountains, we drive more slowly. There are curves and sometimes there is construction. We see signs that say, "Watch for wildlife." And we really do watch. At one moment, we see a deer near the trees. It stands still, then walks away quietly. We whisper, like we are in a museum. Shadow again. We whisper, like we are in a museum. That evening, we decide to camp for one night. We find a campsite and set up a small tent. We make a simple meal like noodles and vegetables. The sky becomes dark and stars appear. The stars look brighter than in the city. We sit quietly and listen to the night sounds. We feel grateful for this moment. The next morning, we pack up and continue. We say goodbye to the Rockies, but we know we will still see mountains in British Columbia. As we enter British Columbia, the landscape changes again. We see thick forests, wide rivers, and deep green valleys. The roads go up and down. Sometimes we drive next to cliffs. Sometimes we drive through long mountain passes. We stop in a small town for lunch. We order something warm and simple like a bowl of soup. The server asks how our trip is going. We say, "It's amazing, but we are tired." The server nods and says, "That's normal on a long drive." After lunch, we have a small problem. A warning light appears on the car dashboard. We feel nervous for a second. We pull over safely and check the manual. Then we decide to stop at a local mechanic in the next town. The mechanic is kind and calm. They check the car and tell us it is a small sensor issue. They fix it quickly. We feel relieved. We say thank you and continue our journey. This reminds us of something important. On a road trip, problems can happen, but you can solve them step by step. Shadow again. But you can solve them step by step. As we get closer to Vancouver, we feel a mix of emotions. We feel excited because we are close to our destination. We feel proud because we traveled so far. We also feel a little sad because the trip will end. That feeling is common. When something is beautiful, you do not want it to finish. On the last day, we drive through more traffic again. We see more cars, more signs, and more buildings. Then we see the city skyline. We arrive in Vancouver. The air feels different here. It feels fresh and a little salty because the ocean is near. We check into our place and drop our bags. Then we go outside right away because we want to see the water. We walk near the beach and listen to the waves. We watch people riding bikes and walking dogs. We see mountains in the distance, and we see boats on the water. Vancouver feels relaxed but also alive. We sit on a bench and talk quietly about the trip. We remember the forests of Ontario. We remember the wide skies of the prairies. We remember the power of the Rocky Mountains. We remember the green valleys of British Columbia. And we remember the small moments, like coffee stops and friendly strangers. Shadow again. And we remember the small moments, like coffee stops and friendly strangers. Now, before we wrap up, let's do a short speaking practice section. I will say a sentence, and you shadow it. Then, when you hear shadow again, repeat the same sentence one more time by yourself. Here we go. We started our road trip early in the morning in Toronto. Shadow again. We started our road trip early in the morning in Toronto. We drove for many hours and stopped often to rest and drink water. Shadow again. We drove for many hours and stopped often to rest and drink water. Ontario was full of forests and lakes, and it felt peaceful. Shadow again. Ontario was full of forests and lakes, and it felt peaceful. The prairies in Saskatchewan were flat, and the sky looked huge. Shadow again. The prairies in Saskatchewan were flat, and the sky looked huge. The Rocky Mountains were breathtaking, and we stopped to take photos. Shadow again. The Rocky Mountains were breathtaking, and we stopped to take photos. In British Columbia, we saw green forests, rivers, and mountain roads. Shadow again. In British Columbia, we saw green forests, rivers, and mountain roads. Finally, we arrived in Vancouver and walked near the ocean. shadow again. Finally, we arrived in Vancouver and walked near the ocean. Great job. Now, let's wrap up today's episode. Thank you for listening to the Peachy English Podcast. Today you practiced shadowing with a travel story from Toronto to Vancouver. You practiced rhythm, pronunciation, and natural sentence flow. If you want more practice, replay this episode in shadow again. Now it is your turn to speak. Please describe one of your road trips in a similar way. Say where you started and where you went. Say how long you traveled each day. Say what you saw, what you ate, and how you felt. Try to use simple past tense, like we drove, we stopped, and we arrived. You can record yourself on your phone and listen again. That is a powerful way to improve. See you next time on Peachy English Podcast.